So I want to talk about the new book that I wrote. This is probably one of the most personal things I've ever written and put out to the public ever in my life. But I wanted to do it because I know it's important, and I know how important it is for a lot of people who are living with the wounded inner child. And it's a tough subject, but guess what? It's not that difficult to fix. And I know this because I walked the walk. I am a living example of what happens when you heal the inner child. And it took me decades. It did. I lived decades in a silent prison where I didn't like myself. I pretty much hated myself, hated my existence, was pathetic, and didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Guess what? I healed it. I did, and I figured out how to heal it. And I want to share that with you because I know a lot of people are living as wounded children and living as adults as wounded children, and they can't get outside of that prison because they don't know how. I understand that. I know it. Like I said, I lived it for decades. And I'm super excited about this because if I can help even one person escape that prison, I will consider that a success. It's not that difficult. Like I said, had I known back then that it was as easy as it really was, I would have done it long ago. And I kick myself, and I try not to because I don't like to look back too much unless it's to see how far I've come. And what I can tell you is nothing shines brighter than an authentic person. And you can't be your authentic self if you're a wounded child. Until you heal the wounded child, you will not be the authentic you. You will never get to know and not ever be able to evolve unless you are living as the authentic you. And it's a beautiful place to be. I'm not going to say that every day is easy because it's not. Life's not easy. But going through the struggles as a healed wounded child is a lot easier than as an unhealed child. And I know I lived it. Like I said, I lived decades in a silent prison, so I understand it very well. And when I wrote the book, I wrote a lot of myself in the book, told a lot of my story, so that hopefully you can understand that and know that I really understand what you're feeling. I may not know your story, but I definitely know the pain. And I want to help you heal that pain, because I want everybody to be the best version of themselves. So I'm going to talk for a moment about the inner child and what the inner child is. We probably hear this a lot, just in everyday, people speak of the inner child. Everybody has an inner child, okay? The inner child is the place in the brain where those memories are kept from childhood. Those feel-good memories that make us feel all warm and fuzzy and, traditions and things like that, except for a wounded child. For a wounded child, that's where the memories are of when they were wounded. However that it may have been. Not every wounded child was abused. It could have been a perception. It could have been anything. And nobody really knows what causes some of the wounded children to be wounded. However, here's a fun fact, and I learned this when I was working on a custody case recently. Well, not that recently, but pretty recent. I was speaking with a child psychiatrist, and they told me and explained to me that for a child to have a memory of something that didn't happen, it only needs to be suggested one time. Blew my mind. I questioned it. I'm like, are you sure? And I mean, I'm not a child psychiatrist. I'm not a psychiatrist, let alone a child psychiatrist. I didn't know, but this blew my mind. And I'm like, no wonder so many people are in pain and they don't even probably know why. And the why doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters for you personally, but it doesn't matter on the grand scale of being a wounded child. There's no standardized test or whatever. If you feel that you're a wounded child and you have wounds from childhood, then you're a wounded child and you need to fix it. And I'm going to walk you through the steps, and I want to walk you through the steps because it's not that difficult to change. And you can heal it, and you can become the best version of yourself. And that is where you're going to evolve and be phenomenal. You've probably spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is wrong with you. Well, I'm going to tell you, this is not your fault. That's what you need to understand first. It's not your fault. But what do you need to do to heal the wounded child? It's really not that hard. I said this before, and I keep saying it. It takes about 10 minutes a day and a commitment to yourself that you're going to do it every day, and you're going to heal that wounded child. And you have to be ready. And if you're not ready, I suggest you don't try. Because the last thing you need is a failure in your life, or feel like a failure, that you failed at doing something. Because by definition, failure is not completing a task. That's the definition of failure. So there's no given time frame as to how long this takes. I can't tell you how long it's going to take you to heal the wounded child. That's up to you. And everybody's different. For me, it wasn't that long. And I was pretty messed up. I own that. I was a wreck. Nobody knew it. I was good at hiding it. Wounded children typically are masters at hiding how screwed up they really are. Because I was living in a silent hell for a lot of years, and nobody really knew it. Anyway, it takes about 10 minutes a day and a commitment. That's it. That's all you need. Commitment to do the exercises and to do them and to heal that wounded child. And you'll be pleasantly surprised. Wounded children often feel comfortable in their pain. It becomes almost like, the more pain they feel, the better, the happier they feel, the better they feel. It's like kind of like a drug. And I understand this because wounded children, set themselves up to suffer. They do. It's called self-defeating behavior, and wounded children are masters at it. But it is so destructive. And if you're doing that, please stop. Because you are just taking away from your self-worth. And you deserve better than that. Don't accept negative feelings. You don't have to. You can change them. But it's up to you. Remember that. Don't be a slave to negativity. You don't have to be. Heal the wounded child and free yourself from that prison. Now, I'm all for, a good pity party. And I can throw a kick-ass pity party. But here's the problem. The problem becomes a problem when you are living it. You have to realize maybe it's time to leave the pity party, because you should never stay at a party too long. And the pity party that's the wounded child state of mind typically, self-victimization. So you are continuing the victimization cycle when it needs to be stopped, because you need to get to know the authentic you so that you can evolve as the authentic you and grow and level up, because that's what you really want to do, but you don't know how to get there. I understand it. I lived it. And I was in a perpetual pity party for decades. I was, the victim. Poor me, poor me, poor me. Oh, poor me. Yeah, everybody has a story. But guess what? If you don't like the story, stop living it. And only you have control over that. I want to help you. I want to help everybody that wants to change and heal the wounded child. I want to help. So sometimes it's tough love, and sometimes, truth doesn't feel good. But deep down, if you're a wounded child, that you need to change it and you need to heal it. But now there's a solution. When I did it, there was nothing out there. Like I did it blindly, and I was pleasantly surprised when I found out that I did it I did it in a way that they went on and created courses about. That was validating for me. And, you know, wounded children need validation, don't we? But anyway, I want to help you succeed in healing the wounded child and being the best version of yourself, because the world needs better people. There are a few things that I want you to think about. Things that kind of help keep me centered and, you know, in a good place. And life is difficult. It is. But when you're a healed, wounded child, you will be less affected internally by the things around you, and you will learn how to focus on the positive. I know that sounds probably impossible right now, but believe me, it's true. Because you know what? At the end of the day, nothing in this life is all good or all bad. Nothing. It's all what you take from it. And that's the secret. And you need to train your brain to gravitate towards positivity so that it's easier for you to get through difficult times. And also, nothing ever stays the same. Remind yourself of that when you're going through a difficult time. Nothing ever stays the same. So don't make lifelong decisions or life-altering decisions in a moment, because nothing ever stays the same. Sometimes you just need to find the lesson and keep moving forward.